But this is a very special episode of the Urban Debate on Magicbricks Now, India's first property channel. I'm Faye D'Souza. Good evening. It's budget day. Our focus continues to remain on you, the home buyer. What did this budget bring you? Where is the affordable housing going to come from? Is there any possibility that we will all have a home in the housing for all by 2022? Let's take a look first at the top headlines of the day.
For flats up to 30 square meters in the 4 metro cities and 60 square meters in other cities, approved during June 2016 to March 2019 and is completed within 3 years of approval.
Well, developers are terming it dramatic but want the government to re-look at the classification of affordable housing in metro cities. Will this enable us to achieve our goal of housing for all?
I propose that any distribution made out of the income of the SPV by the REITs or the InvITs having specified shareholding will not be subject to the dividend distribution tax.
REITs get a breather, but developers want more than just the abolition of dividend distribution tax. Say this might not be enough to get it up and running. And the budget addresses the long-standing demand of developers and home buyers to set aside 150 crore rupees to digitize land records. Digitization will begin on the 1st of April this year. Infrastructure gets its due. The union budget makes a massive 97,000 crore rupee outlay to roads, allows entrepreneurs to invest in mass transport. Well, here's the thing. Almost all of the issues raised by Magicbricks Now in our run-up to the budget were addressed in some way or the other by Finance Minister Arun Jaitley. Team Modi says Budget 2016 is a holistic budget. The Finance Minister reaffirms that his budget has something for everybody, ranging from the urban citizen to the farmer ploughing his field. But as home buyers, are you happy? Before I introduce our aptly named Big Impact panel, let me take you through the highlights of the budget of the day. Like I told you, affordable housing could get a boost. First-time home buyers have something to take home from this budget. There are tax benefits there for first-time home buyers. In the monetization, also digitization of land records, a very, very welcome move for all of us, whether it's industry or as buyers. Massive allocation for urban roads and rural connectivity. REITs gets a breather as well. So today on the Urban Debate, the biggest panel I could possibly put together in the real estate sector joins me this evening to find out if your home was actually a priority in this budget and if you're actually going to be able to buy a home by the end of this year. Abhishek Lodha, Managing Director, the Lodha Group. Sanjay Dutt, Managing Director, India, Cushman Wakefield. Sanjay Ubale, Managing Director and CEO, TATA Realty Infrastructure. Getambar Anand, President, CREDAI National and Managing Director at ATS. Irfan Razack, Chairman and Managing Director at Prestige Group and the National Chairman of CREDAI. Rohit Gera, Managing Director at Gera Developments. I'm also told Niranjan Hiranandani from Hiranandani Group will join us shortly as well, but it is a fantastic panel. Gentlemen, thank you so much for making time for the home buyer this evening. It is a pleasure to have all of you on the show. I want to do a quick opening round of arguments on where you see this budget going. Abhishek Lodha, I'm going to start with you. I saw your note that your team sent out on the fact that you're happy with this budget. If that's true, explain to me why. Explain to me where the home buyer is going to get his relief from.
I think at a very macro level, the budget did the right thing for the national economy, which is to keep the fiscal deficit under control and yet help the rural economy, which has been suffering for the last 2 years. And in our opinion, that will lead to a better quality of growth going forward. Specifically with relation to home buyers, there is a host of incentives and tax breaks which have come in for homes which are smaller in size, 30 and 60 square meters. And I think that will lead to creation of great amount of housing stock in that smaller housing segment, affordable housing segment, and will lead to greater availability of medium price homes for the urban dweller.
Well, I want to ask you this, and anybody in the panel, this is an open debate, anybody in the panel jump in on this. The incentive that developers got for affordable housing comes with a 3-page long listing of conditions. And it eliminates a lot of things that are already in the market. Things like you have to finish within 3 years of receiving your commencement certificate. Only 1,000 square meters in land that will qualify. There's a long, long list. And if you don't finish in 3 years, well, then the profits will be taxed. Sanjay Ubale, what fits into this category at this point?
Well, actually, the long list of conditions that it's a kind of discouragement for the developers to go for a scheme of this kind. I think typically for mass scale housing or affordable housing, you'll typically need very large tracts of land. Essentially, you'll have to bring in technology, and the fine print actually suggests that you can't really go in for large townships.
Yes.
Potentially, even getting permissions is going to be a major issue. It doesn't really talk about how the governments or the regulators which are going to come in, how they're going to facilitate this entire process of getting your permissions fast. So I think unless that is really addressed, it might look like that it's a noble intention, but I think putting it on the ground might be a bit of an issue.
You know, this is the thing. So it says, and when the finance minister read out his speech, he said, after approvals, you have to complete within 3 years after approval. And we looked at the fine print, and it doesn't say after all your approvals are in. Your time starts ticking on the 3 years when your first approval comes in, which is your commencement certificate. Irfan Razack, is it possible at all to build this sort of affordable housing on a 3-year clock?
I think 3 years is a fairly decent time. All it needs is a bit of proper planning. And I think the 3-year time limit has been given because you can't take time endless on and not deliver the product to the customers. And that's the biggest stress that is going on in the system just now, is that developers take on more than they can chew and they are unable to deliver within the required time.
In 6 months. How will
we also have our constraints. No, I believe that we have to get, it should be after all clearances are received, because commencement certificate does come only after the clearances are received. So I believe once you are all on board, and if you really plan properly, and if you know that the clock is ticking on you, it's not impossible to do it. And then there's a big incentive at the end of it. But I believe the way forward is, in case if you make up your mind and want to do value homes, affordable homes, I think that's the way to go. That's another sort of asset class that you can really concentrate on while you're doing the many other things that you're doing. So it's an opportunity. It all depends on how you look at it, and I believe it's a great opportunity for all of us. We'll be doing both. We'll be helping the people who don't have homes to build homes for them, and at the same time, we'll help ourselves.
A great opportunity. Getambar Anand, do you see this as a great opportunity? Is this an opportunity you will take up? Remember, 25 kilometers radius from Delhi municipal limits still qualifies as urban. So you'll have to go outside of that to build 60 square meters.
Well, there's the Yamuna Expressway, and there is a huge opportunity there. The only thing which we would again present to government is to relook at the sizes. One is we had proposed from CREDAI to keep the sizes at 60 square meters for metros and 90 square meters for areas outside the metro. But coming back to this 1,000 square meters, I'm sure it's an oversight, and we will again go back to the government, because when you're talking of unleashing supply, they must be talking of a minimum of 1,000 square meters, not a maximum. So this is, I'm sure it's an oversight. It will have to be relooked. Otherwise, how can you generate supply if you limit it to 1,000 square meters? It's something which we'll go back to the finance ministry from CREDAI and ask them to relook it. Having said that, it's a great opportunity. Understand this, it's been, the entire budget exercise has been very intelligently done. It's a budget with a vision, and it definitely is going to generate a lot of jobs. It's going to kickstart the Make in India effort, because there is a huge infrastructure spend as well as an intent to unleash supply of housing stock for the EWS and LIG category. Having said that, we are very hopeful that most of our developer colleagues will go down and do affordable housing and try to complete it in 3 years. The only challenge being that bylaws are a state subject, and making a development with a 30 square meter or a 60 square meter or a 60 square meter and a 90 square meter development requires density. Unfortunately, in most states in the country, most states are very stingy on giving density to the developer. So you may have the intent to build smaller units, but you may not have the density to do it. So we'll have to again approach the various states to make these changes in their bylaws so that smaller houses can be made.
All right, let's do a dipstick review on this panel. We have 5 developers on this panel right now. Rohit Gera building in Pune. Not qualified as urban. Pune is not urban. Pune is maybe semi-urban, Rohit Gera. So would you take up that challenge of starting a project, 1,000 square feet of land, finish it in 3 years?
No, it's not urban. It's just the 4 metros.
Yes. So Pune doesn't qualify. Mr. Anand, Pune doesn't qualify.
No, of course it does.
It's not urban. No, it's only Delhi, Mumbai, Kolkata and Chennai.
Yes. Go ahead.
Right, so it says within 25 kilometers for these 4 cities and all other municipalities and cantonment jurisdictions. So our reading is like the Pune Municipal Corporation, the Pimpri-Chinchwad Municipal Corporation would certainly qualify for the 60 square meter size.
Okay. So would you take up that challenge of building that affordable project, Rohit?
No, I think there's some serious concerns here. Look, one is you've got a 3-year time period. You need to plan for 4 months at the very least to look at your occupancy certificates. So you're really reduced down to 32 months. One of the other fine print rules says that you have to complete 80% of the FAR that is available within that 3-year time period, which means you're automatically limiting yourself to the size of the project. You can't do anything of any major scale if you want to actually get it all done. There's no reference to phasing in this whole thing. So I think that there's some serious concerns. I think the intent was good. I think a lot of these onerous conditions that they've put has been as a result of the problems that they faced with developers misusing the erstwhile ATIB scheme.
Yes.
And therefore, I think these conditions which they've put in are good for some developers. You can do something within the municipal corporation. The last thing I'll say on this is the average price per square foot within the Pune Municipal Corporation is over 7,000 rupees a square foot.
Right.
So, this is straight away going to make it out of that fully affordable segment. Really, the affordable space for Pune is 60 square meters, 5,000 or 4,000 rupees a square foot, but that's outside the municipal corporation limits.
Okay. All right. So
I don't think
I
it's
want to
going
bring
to
in
really
Abhishek
fly.
Lodha here. Abhishek, you're building affordable homes in your Palava project. Given what you've learned from starting up that project from scratch to where you are today, if you were to advise the government to tweak this policy, what's the one thing that you would, or what's the couple of things that they need to tweak in order to make it work?
I think they need to provide the flexibility for phasing or do it on a building-wise basis, because clearly what one wants to encourage is large-scale development where infrastructure and other amenities can be brought in, and hence the rules have to be, taken into account that you can't finish all of that in 3 years. You have to sort of let the market also play itself out. So if the one thing has to be changed, I would look at bringing in this on a building-wise or phase-wise basis rather than on an entire project basis.
Sanjay Dutt, we've talked several times about the fact that research shows us that the demand tends to be in the sub 70 lakh rupee bracket, which is not truly affordable housing or low income housing. It's mid-segment housing where we're not getting enough supply. And there are various states that have affordable housing policies, but we still haven't gotten supply in that sweet spot of 30 to 70 lakh rupees. How much are you expecting this particular policy to change things? Will we actually see affordable housing come in?
Well, clearly this will not help, mid housing, but it is sending a signal to the developers that we need to now focus on low cost housing and develop development modules which can cater to, large densities. So if you go for prefab construction techniques, and you are able to compress the construction cycle subject to some of the reforms and suggestions that the colleagues have made in terms of phasing, in terms of approvals and speeding the approvals and all, this can be a solution, it can be a practical solution. So I believe this is a good progress. And also, I want to draw your attention to the fact that across the country, there are a lot of developers who are small developers in
many parts of the country who are actually doing very small developments. And I think they will directly benefit from these smaller developments. And the other point I would like to make here is there is a general tendency amongst developers that you want to optimize FSI on the land. Affordable homes, it's all about how to complete the project quickly, and on NPA basis, how you create maximum return on your investment and optimize. So it's not necessarily that you have to consume the full FSI, do a ground plus 2 structure, for example, and finish it in less than 3 years and book profit.
No, but the condition, one of the conditions says for the smaller cities, you have to do 90% of the FAR has to be consumed.
Which can still be done. Because if
so it's 90%. So it's not, it's not like optimizing it at 100, but you're still at 90. It's not a whole lot of flexibility.
No flexibility in terms of marketing, but in terms of constructing, definitely this will help you ease and reduce the construction cost. I understand the point on marketing front, because you generally don't sell 90% of your stock immediately. You do it over a phase period. But it's an opportunity. And of course, one needs to go back to the government with all the suggestions that you put on the table and make it even better.
All right, so good intentions there, but just not enough to implement and actually make a big difference. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to open up the phone lines. There'll be a phone, there's a phone line that's going to flash at the bottom of your screen. Niranjan, Hiranandani, are you happy with this budget? Where is the affordable housing going to come from? All of those things that we talked about last week that we were expecting, we got none of it. Let's be honest here.
I think one of the things they have just forgotten is that 14 years ago, Mr. Vajpayee brought about affordable housing in a much, much bigger way, where affordable housing in Mumbai was 1,000 square feet per person. Now it's shrunk. They made it only 30 square meters or around 300 square feet. Outside Mumbai and Delhi, it was 1,500 square feet was affordable housing. Now it has been shrunk to 60 square meters or 600 square feet. I don't understand why you need to shrink the size of affordable housing, right? Because NDA's government itself with Vajpayee had given housing at a much, much liberal status from the bottom of their hearts.
Mr. Hiranandani, if they don't set the square foot, the size, and it's open to market pricing, then it won't be affordable anymore.
That's not true. Look at what has happened in the case of Noida. We created enough housing, whether it was 1 bedroom, lesser than that, or 2 bedroom or 3 bedroom. The prices have been 3,500. As long as you created volumes, the secret is not about trying to limit the size of people for posterity and for the next 100 years. You can't create for 30 square meters and expect that people will live there forever. And you're now talking about giving affordable houses to everybody. Why do you want to shrink the sizes of these houses? I think you need to be more liberal than that. Of course, I must give credit to the government that they're talking about affordable houses in a much more liberal way, similar to what had happened earlier by Vajpayee government.
If you look at the 3-page, Mr. Hirandani, the 3-page list of conditions for this affordable housing benefit, does it seem somehow that the government was a little hesitant when, being generous towards the real estate industry?
No, I think some Babu has written down those terms and conditions. The government's intent and the Prime Minister is very clear. Give volumes. Just the same way he markets India and brings volumes of money, large amount of quantities to do. His idea is to create volumes. Somewhere down the line, the Babus, I think, have messed it up.
Irfan Razack, have the Babus messed up this budget? Did someone who was not familiar with how real estate works actually write this clause?
No, I disagree, because the Babus are very intelligent. And the whole idea is to see that really affordable housing is created, and they probably, instead of going on price, they've gone on size. But I think the size they could have considered 60 and 90 meters and maybe brought in a slightly lower version of 45 meters, because I agree with Niranjan, 30 meters is too small. It becomes an EWS and a very, very small house. I think whoever we build for also has to have a certain living condition, a certain decent living condition. So I think a 45-meter house would have been the minimum size, and we shouldn't build anything smaller than that. Then we are only congesting and creating too much density. And but what I have to say is, at least now there's a beginning. We are again talking of affordable housing. Last year or the year before, there was nothing about it. Now there is some opening that has happened. with this opening, I think we need to again sensitize people that listen.
But I do
make it
believe,
between
Mr.
45
Razack,
and
Mr.
90
Hiranandani, I
meters
believe our expectations are very, very low.
Work it out city to city.
For a government that came in with its manifesto saying housing for all by 2022 is our target, to say, oh, that they mentioned it is a step in the right direction, I think our expectations are fairly low. Niranjan, Hiranandani, how would you rate this budget?
No,
Purely from a home. Okay, Getambar Anand, go ahead.
See, Faye, it's now been 14 years when, for 14 years nobody has spoken about housing like this. Ever since, like Niranjan said, since Mr. Vajpayee's time, this is the first time in 14 years that housing has been mentioned as a major concern in the budget. And I think rather than lambast the effort, we should just work and bring it across to the policymakers that there's certain practical changes that need to be made in this proposal so that this becomes a reality. Let's not shoot them down and say, well, they've done nothing. I don't really... We said that last year because, we were very, very expectant that after the slogan for Housing for All, something would happen, and nothing did happen. But then having seen last year and having seen this year, I think there's a great change, there's a great effort, there's an intent from the part of government. We need to sensitize them that, whatever's been proposed can be done better if you make these particular changes that Rohit has mentioned. So let's be positive, let's be optimistic, and let's work on it.
All right, I want ratings from each of you. I'm going to go around this entire panel, starting with Niranjan, Hiranandani, on a scale of 1 to 10, purely from the home buyer's point of view. How would you rate this budget?
5.
5. You're that disappointed?
Sorry?
All right, so 5. Abhishek Lodha, where would you place it?
For those in the middle income and below, about a 9. For those above, it's a 4.
It's a 4. Sanjay Ubale?
7.
A 7. Why have you given it the extra 2 points that nobody else wanted to give it?
Well, I think, first of all, I think affordable housing, though, I think what Niranjan just now said, that, they should have, expanded the definition of affordable housing. But I think the issue out here is they have not defined affordable housing. They said that if at all you want to take benefits, you keep the sizes of the houses to 30 square meters or 60 square meters. You're always free to construct houses bigger than that.
Sure.
But I think the important thing is that there's a focus now on affordable housing, and really the developers and builders are being attracted towards that segment. I think that was not there earlier. Okay. There's an incentive out there. And to individual home buyers, the first-time home buyers, I think there's a lot that has come in from 24,000 to 60,000 rupees is exemption now
on HRA for renters.
So I think there's a lot that has been done, and that's the reason why I feel it should be about 7.
Sanjay Dutt.
I will rate 7 because I think you have to go beyond just the direct incentives to the sector. If you really look at the government has demonstrated that they have managed to put together the infra on track. So if you look at power sector, if you look at road construction, and now they're talking about higher allocation of money. Sure. In my opinion, if this infrastructure project gets implemented, which means access to remote locations will be better, poor will be able to live further from the city and commute quicker to their workplace. And therefore, the more supply that you create, which means if you go from island of the Mumbai city to hinterland, for example, where there is more supply of land, you will be able to overall, what Mr. Niranjan Hiranandani said, increase the supply, and therefore the supply will create more, housing more attractive and affordable. And
how confident are you about that 97,000 crore rupees allocated to infrastructure, specifically roads, being used up towards urban development, urban roads, urban infrastructure?
Given the recent track, I'm very confident.
Okay. Irfan Razack, would you rate the budget for me from a home buyer's point of view, please?
I think just from the perspective of the home buyer, I would give it 7 again.
All right, you're being very generous.
And the reason is, no, it's not generous. I think I sent you a written note also this evening, and there also I had put in the same number. The idea is, see, the home buyer, apart from this, they've got the, for people who don't own a home, they have got the tax deduction of 60,000 against the rental income that they pay. That's a big one. And plus, okay, we were looking at, for a one-time home buyer, we were looking at a full exemption on interest, but they got 50,000 more. As I said, you see, now these are all small baby steps. And we are only hoping this will go to the next step and become bigger and bigger, because even we also have to perform and deliver. So it's a two-way traffic. The trust has to get built up, and ultimately, if the performance is good and things are panning out better, the government also will start looking at us with a different eye. And I think at the end of the day, it's a question of how we build trust between the government and ourselves.
Getambar Anand, how would you rate this budget? Are you also going to give it a 7?
I would give it an 8, Faye, because you see, we as developers have to start reinventing the way we think. We have to think beyond metros now, and we have to look at this as a manufacturing activity. We have to look at it as, you know, something like an industry, like we are looking at high turnovers and reasonable, not very high margins.
Who's going to address the demand of the 2 crore homes that have to be built for urban India first? We've talked about this. We've talked about the fact that there is a tremendous demand right now for affordable housing within our cities.
Yes. Absolutely. But that is why they're looking at metros also. It's only the size which is debatable. So we are looking, instead of a 30 square meter, we've asked for a 60 square meter in the metros, which is carpet area, which is affordable, you see. Now, besides this 2 crores, there's a demand of another 9 crores across the country. So that too has to be addressed. We have to now actually look at that volume. That's a huge opportunity, Faye. So as developers, if we address that, then we have a future. Otherwise, if we are just looking at these 2 crore homes within the metros, I don't see us surviving very long. And, you know, if you look at the private equity funds, they are interested in a longer play for real estate. They are interested in houses which we can sell in volume, which have a, you know, something like a, not a very high margin of profit, but there's a high turnover scope over there. So we, as you know, we have to focus more on expanding our capacities to execute such volumes. Otherwise, it's difficult. It's going to be difficult for us to survive.
Respond to that, given where the industry is right now. Is this something that you would consider, going out of the cities, looking at the entire business differently?
We always go out of the cities. When I started Powai 28 years ago, it was out of the city. When we went to Gotbandar Road, it was out of the city. When we are now in Panvel and other places in Pune, we are out of the city. We always go out of the city. We create the infrastructure. So when you talk about higher points, like Sanjay mentioned and what Getambarji mentioned, the point is different. The point is that if you can build the infrastructure, where I would give 9 points out of 10 to the finance minister, combined with that, I think there is a vision in the government's mind in order to extend metros, extend roads, extend that thing, and a combination with that, with the housing, I think the benefit will be there. But you have to understand that when we talk about this whole thing, unless this does not move holistically, but I think Mr. Gadkari has really done a great job of the roads and other infrastructure. So I would bet on him 9 out of 10 in terms of doing it. And if we combine this with housing, we have a great story to tell. But housing alone in terms of the proposal is still, I think, a little far away.
But I think
yes,
one more point.
I'm going to come in with my rating if you don't mind.
I'll come back to you, Rohit. 1 second. Sanjay, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think the other point is that, you know, the central government can do only that much in terms of, you know, offering fiscal incentives. The bulk of the action actually lies in the hands of the state governments, you know. So I think we really need to start concentrating on that, you know, building approvals, for example, getting the FSI, higher FSI in some of the metros, the environmental clearances, you know, the forest issues. So there are so many issues that are outside the purview of the central government. I think unless we start looking at that, we might be looking at a very small function of. That's the reason why I said that this budget probably deserves 7%, 7 out of 10, 70%. And therefore, you can't really put everything on the table of the central government.
All right. Yeah. Rohit Gera, go ahead.
So, Faye, I think on intent for housing, I think I'll give the government an 8. But on outcome, I think it's a 3. I think it really doesn't address a whole lot at all. Look, from the home buyer's point of view, if you're a first home buyer, you get an extra 50,000 bucks as a deduction. Okay, at a 30% tax rate, that's about 1,200 rupees a month of saving. If you're a renter, you're going to go from 24,000 to 60,000, right? So that's another 36,000, on which your deduction and your saving may be about 1,000 rupees a month. It's not a whole hell of a lot. Okay. from a saving to the buyer or the renter. When it comes to the developer, in terms of scale, because of this 30-60 square meter issue, only municipal corporation limits are considered. You can't go outside of the municipal corporation. The 3-year timeline is very tight to actually get any kind of scale done. You have to get 80% of the FSI actually completed within that 3 years. So I think
Rohit,
it's really
this entire thing,
high on
I mean,
intent,
limits you to 1,000
3 on
square
outcomes.
meters. I mean, I don't even think we're talking about scale in this case. 1,000 square meters, what kind of scale is that? What kind of margins are
exactly.
you talking about for the developer?
So I think that really is, it should be maximum versus minimum. I think that's just a typo probably. But if it is indeed the maximum size, then it's really a non-starter.
It's an
I mean,
oversight.
really, what are we talking about?
All right. So I'm
Yeah.
putting Rohit Gera down for 3 out of 10 because it's not intentions that really matter on the ground. It's actual execution that matters on
Absolutely.
the ground. There was one other thing that we need to focus on as home buyers, especially as home buyers who live in urban India. And there are a lot of young people who work in cities like Bombay, in Pune, in Bangalore, who have hometowns in Tier 2 India. Now, here's the thing. If you've not bought a home up till now and you're looking to make an investment, you now have an extra 50,000 rupees tax deduction that came out of this budget that's available to you if you buy a home that's priced at lower than 50 lakh rupees and borrow a home loan at less than 35 lakh rupees. Sanjay Dutt, do you see this as an investment opportunity for young India? If I'm making a salary here in Mumbai or in Bangalore to buy back home from wherever I came from?
Well, really, if you're in Mumbai, I think you'll have few years before you actually be able to buy one.
Right.
And I think it'll be tough to do that. But I think when you look at opportunities as a migrant, there are a lot of migrants that you see flocking to these major cities. And you can have a rental accommodation to begin with as your career starts. And as you start building your career, you actually have more economic wealth accumulating with you to be able to invest. You may not be able to invest in the city, but you may be able to hedge and invest outside the city.
So
and
where
then
would you
eventually
hedge and invest outside the city? Let's assume I'm a young person. Let's assume that I want to make an investment in real estate, not in the 4 or 5 crowded cities where real estate is expensive. I'm going to buy somewhere else. My upper limit is 50 lakh rupees. Where would you send me?
Kalamboli in Navi Mumbai, or Vasai Virar, or Boisar on the western line, for example. So you will be able to get it. I know that's not the place where the young person wants to live, but you're able to put in an investment, appreciate, see the value go up, and unlock that value, and then move in later, closer. So I
when
know
you
it
say
doesn't
see
answer.
the value go up, what kind of value are you expecting to see?
Well, really,
in say
if you-
Kalamboli, for
if you have
example, we'll pull up the
properties-
prices of Kalamboli and take a
The
look at it as
properties
well.
are around 3,000 rupees per square feet in Boisar. They're about very close to the station. And there is a segment which is going to buy just the way Virar and Vasai and Nalasupara were at one time at 900 rupees per square feet. They are now 4,000 rupees per square feet.
The Pawais of 25 years ago.
Which is exactly how the world moves. And therefore, so if you're asking a young guy of 26 years, go dude and buy a 2 crore rupees property, that's not supposed to happen earlier. And it may be expecting too much. But I think they can make an investment. They can hedge against future inflation, and they can create wealth, and therefore
What
go for it.
returns are you expecting from Boisar over the next 5 years?
Well, clearly, if you just look at the inflation alone, you would be looking for upwards of 6 to 7% on yearly basis. The demand has to return, which given the current dynamics of the market, if the government is going to invest and pull demand, you will see a higher appreciation in capital values.
We talked about the opportunity that's available to us now to buy homes that are outside of our cities, that are within the 50 lakh rupee bracket, that will allow us an extra tax deduction of 50,000 rupees. Sanjay Ubale, if I was looking for an investment like that, what are the new areas of opportunity you believe we have as young Indians right now to invest in?
Well, I think I would bet on Panvel and the area around where the airport is coming up. The new port is likely to come up. I think that's really the area where, to my mind, that's going to be the new Mumbai that's going to happen. I think for the young Indians, I would say that should be the area they should be.
Isn't that where you're building?
Well, I don't think that's from the connectivity point of view, because the younger lot would probably need connectivity to the outside world. And probably they might want to be closer to the airport and places from where they can move out very quickly.
Sure. And during the rail budget, we heard some interesting announcements in terms of connectivity that will come up to Navi Mumbai from CST, from the old airport to the new airport that will come up in Navi Mumbai. So there's a lot of promise there. Trans Harbour, Sea Link. So there's a lot of promise there of connectivity as well. Niranjan, Hiranandani, where's the next Powai coming up? So we know.
Well, you said it just now, and so did Sanjay. I think Panvel is the next location that you're going to see. And
Right.
Naina, which is the bordering of Navi Mumbai, is also going to be an area. That area is more than 2.5 times the size of whole of Mumbai. So I think that's a great opportunity just outside it. And with, as you said, the Trans Harbour link and the railway line, which Mr. Prabhu has announced, the rapid elevated corridor right from VT to Panvel is going to be the difference. And Panvel to Karjat is already announced last year. So I think a combination of that with the Navi Mumbai airport is going to see that sector also grow. The western side,
But,
of course, will grow.
You're
but
also looking at cities outside of Mumbai. We don't have to focus on Mumbai here. It's a national channel. Tell us where else.
I think lots of places outside the periphery of cities are going to see it, because you see the metro still has a great draw. So if you see Bangalore, you'll see the periphery of Bangalore. If you see Chennai, the periphery of Chennai. If you see Pune, the periphery of Pune. If you see Ahmedabad, the Gandhinagar and other belts which are really surrounding. So with the metro towns now being chosen for the purposes of infrastructure in terms of smart cities, I think the focus again goes back to the metro towns and the 100 cities being chosen for the purposes of development of smart infrastructure.
Abhishek Lodha?
I think development will happen where there is employment generation, and that will happen in metros. The young will have opportunities based on the quality of the developer and the infrastructure that is put in by the developer as well as by the government. So there will be many opportunities. I think it's about buying at the right location and buying with a credible developer.
All right, you still didn't give me a specific location. Tell us where you've bought land and where you're going to be next.
No, I think there's a lot of development which is going to happen on the sort of northeast of Mumbai. So Kalyan, Dombivli, Panvel, that belt will develop because a lot of infrastructure is being put into that area, and that's where the land availability is. So even by the natural pressures, that's where development has to happen.
Irfan Razack, if we're talking about development following job creation, then Bangalore still stands strongest in commercial property absorption across the country. Within the Bangalore market, or within that south market, where's the opportunity to invest sub 50 lakh rupees?
Yeah, see, currently in Bangalore, if you ask me, Sarjapur is a good location. The land prices are still reasonable and you can still offer at a reasonable number. And also Old Madras Road, that's another good location. And then finally, you can look at the Devanhalli, Dodbalapur Road area closer to the new airport. These are the 3 new areas, and I believe that these areas will suddenly spring up, especially with the connectivity coming in. It will definitely help things. And if you're looking towards the other cities in the south, I believe the big opportunity, if the Bangalore gets connected by an expressway to Mysore, Mysore has a big opportunity there. Mangalore has a big opportunity, and so on and so forth. So there is a lot of because job creation is very rightly said by Abhishek. The homes have to be built where the jobs are getting created. And these cities will definitely start creating the jobs, especially I don't know why our state government is not looking at Mysore so seriously. If they really connect the Bangalore with Mysore, create it as a counter magnet, it will decongest Bangalore and at the same time provide opportunities to a city like Mysore. There's a huge opportunity waiting there. People just need to have that vision. And if we also look at it seriously, I think there's something that can be done there.
Right, the industrial corridor that we're looking at. But to be fair, the Karnataka state government should be first looking at Bangalore far more seriously before it even looks outside of that. It's failing the city to begin with. Interestingly, Bangalore continues to grow in spite of its government. Getambar Anand, outside of the NCR region, I know you're looking at Chandigarh, Ludhiana. What are you most bullish on?
See, anywhere where the DMIC is passing pay would be a good investment. So looking at the NCR area, I think the Yamuna Expressway, Daruheda, Bhiwadi in Rajasthan, Daruheda in Haryana, and everywhere where the DMIC is passing, because that area, you see, this government seems very intent on making the DMIC a reality. There are challenges. They are looking at the KMP to be operational by 2016 end. So I definitely am very optimistic, and I feel that the DMIC will see the light of day. So any area which is around, which is falling in the alignment of the DMIC would be a good investment. Yes, definitely so.
Before we move away from the DMIC, which is the Delhi-Mumbai Industrial Corridor, I want to ask Sanjay that this question, the city that has not come up here yet in conversation, Ahmedabad. It is the largest nodular city on the industrial corridor. It's already doing very well. It has a very proactive government. It has a very proactive local, municipal commissioner and a municipal corporation. Should I be investing my 50 lakh rupees in Ahmedabad?
Ahmedabad is a great city, and so is Gandhinagar. However, the challenge there is it's a very speculative market. And like you mentioned, Ahmedabad
gets a lot of NRI attention, doesn't it?
Ahmedabad is very close to industrial, catchments. But none of that industrial is actually in Ahmedabad or Gandhinagar. This is all in Jagadia, Mundra, all are far off industrial large catchments. And Niranjan mentioned earlier, you can do industrial corridor focused developments, and therefore that could be a good opportunity.
Okay. So basically, Vasai Virar, Panvel, Boisar will do better in terms of return on capital than Ahmedabad will. That's my question.
Unless, of course, you're targeting a very different segment. But for affordable, certainly no. You're
Certainly
right.
no. Okay.
And the other reason, of course, is like we all discussed, economic activity drives demand. In Ahmedabad, there is no services sector demand as compared to other cities, and that's why it's lacking.
But there's one announcement which has taken place in the budget, which I think has not been really seen, is the International Financial Center in GIFT City in Ahmedabad. I think that would be a very, very big driver, which
yes. And the bullet
was
train,
initiated by the Prime Minister.
Yes.
And I think they've finally cleared all the issues relating to the International Financial Center. So I think that should be a very big boost to Ahmedabad.
I also want Rohit Gera to come in from the Pune market and from the markets around it. Rohit, I know that you're also working in the Goa market. Are there any opportunities there that you're particularly bullish on?
So, Faye, firstly, I think wherever you were looking yesterday, you continue to look today. This budget's made no impact on there's no reason why you should actually change where you're looking for a home. The benefits are only to first-time home buyers. That too, it says for 35 lakh loan, when you're buying up to a 50 lakh rupee property. People in this segment have, they stretch themselves to the limit. They don't have 15 lakhs of their own capital to put in. So really, if you're borrowing 35 lakhs for the benefit, then you're going to get only a 41 or a 42 lakh rupee home. Okay, so I think first and foremost, just keep, whatever you're doing yesterday, you're going to do tomorrow.
All right, so I'm going to take all of
to make a
this back
change.
to Getambar Anand. Getambar Anand, we did one entire round of questions. Everybody believes that the real growth, the real market is around our big cities. So your argument that developers need to now look outside of the big cities, go into tier 2, go into markets that are not explored, nobody on this panel even seems to be considering that argument.
It's sad, Faye, but we definitely as an organization are, and we are looking at, even tier 3, tier 4 towns, and we are doing a different model over there. It's a G+1 model, or even just a standalone ground floor model, because that's the product which is acceptable over there. And let me tell everybody on the panel over here that they must explore that area also, because we are doing an EBITDA of close to 30 to 35%. And if you get an income tax rebate on that, then it's fantastic. So I think to each his own. We as an organization have made a conscious decision to go down to these areas and do some serious volumes over there.
All right. We have a few minutes left on the show. Niranjan, Hiranandani REITs big announcement. Announcement that I did not like. Another cess on service tax that takes it up to 15%, which we have to pay on homes that are under construction. What's your reaction to both of those?
I think it's a shame. It's the most unjust tax that I've ever seen in my whole life. Service tax for the person who buys under construction, but when he gets occupation certificate, he doesn't pay a service tax. Of course, now the exemption, as Abhishek has just mentioned, it is available up to 60 square meters for this, but that is not a proper criteria. I think service tax in terms of home loans must be removed and eliminated. Today, affordable housing is taxed at almost 32% on the top line of things. So 3,600 rupee house, 1,200 rupees is taxes, direct, indirect, local tax, state government tax, stamp duty, VAT, service tax, and so on and so forth. I think it's ridiculous. I think somewhere down the line, you need to reduce the taxes if you want to achieve the objective of the Prime Minister and the hope and aspirations and the need of the people of India. I think you need to rationalize taxes very quickly. The government should appoint a serious commission to check on the taxation which is taking place at various levels. Maybe through GST they can find a solution.
But you know,
it is absolutely
Mr. Hiranandani,
obnoxious.
through GST, and I want to bring in Sanjay Ubale here, through GST, from what we understand, GST will replace service tax. It won't replace stamp duty. So we might have a situation where we're paying GST of 17, 18% and then paying stamp duty on top of that. That would be really painful.
And local taxes.
And local taxes. Sanjay?
Yeah, true. I think it's going to be pretty expensive now.
All right. So, the other thing that we want to talk about now, I want to bring in Abhishek Lodha here, is digitization of land records. This is something that I know the banking industry would love if it was actually easily available, easily accessible, the land records that we were looking at. The development industry would love, and the home buyer would love it. If I could access land records and actually take a look at what sort of land we're talking about here. How long do you think that's going to take to, to reach that level which the other big cities in the world have it at? And how big a move is this?
I think from a transparency perspective and hence making the market more liquid, it's a great move. Ultimately, land title in India is one of the biggest bugbears of the industry and investors and buyers, and this will really help that transparency improve. It's going to take some time coming. I don't know the implementation timeframe the government set, and it's because these records are really British era records and have not been digitized in any form. It'll take some time coming, but again, the fact that the government could think at that micro level and pick out this problem to solve shows that the government has its ears to the ground and wants to take action to improve things. Maybe it may be slightly long term, but it's very important.
All right, it is a very important move.
And Faye, I think that this is also the first step to us actually seeing title insurance becoming available, which is available in Western countries. So I think it's a really good step. And once we get title insurance, that will be take it much further down the road.
All right, Sanjay, that I'm being told I have to wrap up this show. But before we go, quick word of advice then for all viewers at home, and it's the fundamental home buyer, the end user who watches this show. What's your advice for the end user?
I believe there is an opportunity given the market conditions that we have. We also see initiatives taken by the government to revive the demand, revive the economy, and I think we're going to do well if we spend all that money the government has allocated out to be spent. And given the global circumstances, India needs to be a consumption-led economy, which the government is trying to focus on. And I think if you are there, if you've not bought a good home for yourself, this is time to buy it because markets have really bottomed out and this is the right time to go and invest. And now you have incentives actually to invest. So go ahead and buy property.
All right. It's never been a better time for first-time investors, especially if you're looking at that specific bracket. I'm being told we've run out of time, but gentlemen, thank you so much for spending time with us this evening, helping us take a closer look at that big budget. Remember, this channel is dedicated to the home buyer. We're going to continue to stay here and answer your questions right through the week. If you have a question about anything you heard on the union budget or something you have a doubt about, feel free to get in touch with us and we'll try and answer all your questions over the week to come. Another big thank you to our entire panel for joining us here on Magicbricks Now. Stay with the channel for more news and updates.